All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Quick reminder to please turn on your camera when asking a question. With that, we'll get started with head coach Bradley Carnell and go right into questions starting in the room.
The obvious question on San Jose with Timo Werner and
Sure.
getting his first minutes, and how when a player like that ilk comes on the field, whether it be starting or off the bench, how do you approach that if there is a different approach, knowing he scored at every level?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, I think you've seen the way the league is trending in the last year, of the type of caliber of DP coming into the league. I think it's been, whether it's us or any other team, there's good players in every club, right? There's DPs rolling in every other week. And that's good for us because we always have to play at the highest alertness and concentration and at the levels that we think brings us success. I think it's great for the league. Timo's a great player in his own right. He's very decorated, won so many things. But it's our job to make, lives difficult of the opponent, of the individual. And I think, we do that at a very high level. We believe in our way, and we're excited about the game. And like I said, it's great for the league. It's great to come up against great players, but I don't think it's anything new to us.
Your striker, Ezekiel, in the games he's played, powerful is the best word to describe the header he scores in Trinidad.
Sure.
It looks like he has taken to the system fairly well. Now that he's got a little bit of rest and he's ready to go for Saturday, I guess what's the talk with him about? I guess kind of just playing his own game, forgetting.
Sure. Yeah, listen, I mean, when we sign a player like Easy, we know his ceiling, and I think that's very important to know. He's still very young, and he's still a lot of growing to do. So I think he has shown some good attributes with and against the ball. But just because he's out for a week, it doesn't mean he's been on holiday. He's been working behind the scenes and really disciplined in his physical attributes to maintain his sharpness and to maintain his match ready at all times. So again, it's about creating hunger. And I don't, me now. I don't speak about one striker. I speak about every one of our strikers. And we believe in everybody we put out on the field. So we think we have a competitive group out there. And Easy's been working really hard. I think we want to play, on the front foot. We want to, make lives difficult for the opponent and turn over the ball. But, self-inflicted sort of red cards, I would say, this is not the way that it should be done. And we don't, very cheap ways to let your teammates down. And, I think Macanya's learned a good lesson. I think Easy's learned his lesson. And we can continue to grow as a team. But yeah, we're excited about the next games. We're excited about where we are. It's a big week coming up, at first at San Jose on Saturday.
Start, then kind of building the game later on. For your strikers, how do you get them more touches inside penalty area? The numbers have been low in the two MLS games.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it just something as simple as you guys starting fast, them being involved in more? How do you?
I don't want to quote the wrong numbers, but position specific, I can't tell you. Like, I'm not going to speak about that. Us as a team, in terms of like final third entries, box entries, I think we're second in the league or third in the league in final third entries. I think we're fourth in the league for assist zone entries. I think, I think we're getting where we need to be and want to be. We're just missing a little bit of that final third creativity, chemistry, alignment. So yeah, we just continue to. I'd rather be in a good spot and not get that result right now, but knowing that the process is in motion, that we, I'd be, if I was scratching my head in midfield and thinking, how do we get progress forwards? This would be a way that makes me more concerned. But looking at it the other way, I do see a lot of positive things we are doing now. And I think about the momentum shifts that we had in terms of final third entries against NYC. I think there was one 5-minute increment where they had the upper hand in terms of momentum in playing in our defensive third. I think the rest of the game was played in NYC's defensive third, right? So that's a positive for me. You know, it's how we play. It's where we want to, you know, set the game up and play the game and what have you. So I see a lot of positives.
On the red card front, how have you approached the conversation with the group the last week? Seems like maybe the definition of what means the standard for cards for dissent has been emphasized in different ways this year. How have
Yeah.
you kind of approached that conversation?
Yeah, we've approached it as a group, we've approached it as individuals, but also in the moments, I'm looking for, you know, acknowledgement of who we are as a group right now, and we're a bit of a younger group, which is, you know, totally fine. But, you know, we've challenged the guys on the field to, you know, be an extra set of eyes, ears, look after each other, you know, give each other a reinforcement message, keep each other in check, keep each other aligned, and motivated and positive, right? So we've spoken a lot about that as a group, and yeah, we feel in every step that we take is a step in the right direction. So, you know, we're working in our quest to advance in the Champions Cup and get our first 3 points in the league. But yeah, we have a good understanding of where we are as a group, and that gives us motivation and excitement about getting to the next stages.
When it comes time to you mentioning the striker group, what have you liked about what you've seen from Stas so far? And especially thinking that he had a kind of a target pretty quickly after he comes into the game.
Yeah.
To kind of quick.
Sure, like good mobility off the ball. You know, with Stas, with his reps at Union 2, we challenged Stas in many ways, you know, playing at the level up from college and then playing at the next pro level. Speed of play for Stas was in the first, like a year ago, very challenging. And you can see his sharpness of thought, his sharpness of movement is getting better every single day. Like, and I said, he came into preseason really fit, healthy, and looked sharp straight away. And that's helped him because it's, you know, fits in with how we do things and what we want to achieve as a group. But now we've seen some mobility from him. We've seen some quality in the box. We've seen some getting shots off. You know, he's even scored. So, you know, that's great when you see a striker like that giving you options and giving yourself a headache in terms of team selection. So it's great. Good development, you know, from him.
Where is Philip acclimating?
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen him. He's not in the building yet. He arrives today. And he's raring to go, but there's a bit of paperwork to get through. There's a bit of, you know, medical stuff to get through, but it's all in the right process and in the right direction. And, you know, if push comes to shove, we can get him, you know, squad ready, potentially. But I don't want to just make a claim like that just yet.
And if you prep for what this next week is going to be, are you assuming that you're going to have a full group that can travel to the second leg in Mexico?
Oh yeah, sure. I think so.
None of the issues that you were talking about for the Trinidad trip.
Yeah, I think a full group. Yeah, I would assume we would have most of the group, and the good thing is we can travel with 23 in that roster. You know, but we'll for sure make sure to do our due diligence there. And the question mark was Gainer Martinez. And there's a couple of trickle downs, you know, some guys who we think we want to call up from Union 2 maybe on a short term or what have you. So we'll assess that bridge when it comes. You know, we've got a couple of days to think about that because anyone who's been in this business, it's fluid, it's day to day, and you know, you plan for something and then tomorrow the plan changes because X, Y, and Z happens. But yeah, at least, you know, by adding bodies to our group, we are in a better stage or in a better phase. But I do believe the P1 process and the visa process is open to Mexico and Canada, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the travel restrictions. Yeah.
Were you on the injury report?
Good, training in the right way, which is a positive. You know, yeah, Jovan's training no problems. Frankie's training no problems. Everyone else who, you know, Finn Sundstrom, you know, training with us no problems. So I think we're getting stronger and fit as a group, which is a welcome sign. We've kind of like just mitigated and managed over the last couple of weeks. So, you know, even through preseason, a bit of stagnated sort of numbers and squad and what have you. So I think we're getting over the hump and we're getting more competitive. We're getting stronger. We're getting healthier, which is a good thing for us at the end of the day.
Assess what the center back pairing looks like without Makani on Saturday. I know you have options of maybe bringing Nate in or Gunnar having his first MLS start. How do you manage that, knowing what you still have available to you at the fullback spots?
Yeah, it's a good question. And we have a plan. I'm not going to roll out the plan for you right now.
Go ahead, Nico.
All right, we can switch over to Zoom. Jonathan Tannewald.
Thanks, Nico and Bradley, and apologies for any background noise. Bradley answered most of what I was going to ask already, but I wanted to ask one other thing, sort of follow on something you said on Sunday, which is that you thought, the moment gets to us a little bit was the phrase that you used after the game on Sunday. And for you as the manager, as the sort of the teacher and the leader of this group, what of that message was maybe from you to the players to speak to work on that part? Thank you.
Yeah, part of the leadership, it's my job as a leader to kind of give the direction and the tone of where we want to go and what we want to do. But it's also in the moment on the field of play where guys have to, make sure we check in our shoulder. We trying to be a little bit proactive, just as we want to play tactically on the front foot and proactively. We've expected more out of ourselves in terms of like being sharp, right, mentally and cognitively. Just thinking about an if moment, or a follow on from a set piece, or a follow on from an attacking sequence or something. What are the trickle downs, and how do we have the right balance when we have the ball, and how do we have the right shape against the ball, and what does our transition structure look like? So we've been working on a bunch of these things, but we've been demanding more as a group. On the field and off the field as well. So just in terms of who's stepping up, who's having more of a voice, who's sharing that, because we saw a ton of it. We have experienced this in preseason in a really positive way. And then when you get challenged, when the lights go on, we want guys to really embrace the moment and step into the moment and be brave and be ready for the challenge. So, that's been part of the discussions.
All right, and final question, we go to Todd Lewis.
Thank you, Nico. Hey, Bradley. I know
Hey,
you were
Todd.
just talking about the forward passes, and I know last game you were asked about the transitions. Specifically, when you look at the game against New York City, there was a couple moments in there. The 15th minute, you see Nate play a forward entry ball into Anello. You guys get a 3v2 opportunity, and he cuts in and eventually becomes 3v1. He hits the pass. Just how vital is this week, a full week of training to iron out maybe some of those details?
Yeah, I counted 20 moments in the first half alone of that game where we had a positive transition moment where we turned over the ball and start a sequence in an overload, right? And we don't come to fruition of that. So obviously we're preparing for San Jose. We're trying to mitigate, some of those transitional moments that we had. So one of it partly is video debriefing. And then, Wednesdays are always our philosophy day, if we play on a Saturday. So Wednesdays would be the one where we attack in terms of righting the wrongs from the weekend and going through part of the game model. And putting some polish on that and working at that. So, the philosophy day is always great because they're very competitive, and we do show tons of quality. We've seen so many things in training, and now it's just about the group, bringing it to life, bringing it together, and sort of putting it on display for everyone to see, because we've seen it in abundance in the sort of closed training environments, closed sort of game environments in Spain and in Clearwater and what have you. But yeah, we just want to make sure we step up onto the page and everyone assumes and takes that responsibility and ready for that challenge. But yeah, we've had some great learning moments, which is good because yeah, when we get under pressure, that's the time when we're learning. When we train in a really tough environment, and it's great watching the guys go through moments where struggle happens, but then you see learning happening too, which is really good as a development club and as a development team. Right now, we're in a phase of really learning, and that's the enjoyable part.
And then if I can get one more, with San Jose coming in on a 2-game winning streak, just what specific strengths of theirs have you noticed in the first 2 games that may cause an issue for you guys?
Yeah, set pieces, they're very dangerous in transition with Ricketts and Boda. And then I think Preston Judd has a bit of versatility. He can hold up the play or he can run in behind. Whether Werner plays or not, I'm not sure. That's something I can't control. But they've a lot more organized. They conceded a ton last year, and now they're one of the lowest shot conceding teams in the league. So, they have a good structure. They have a solid center back pairing with Roberts and Daniel Mooney. So yeah, and then set pieces from the first game 3-0 in Sporting against Sporting, they scored 2 set pieces. So there's a lot of that we have to look at, and they do possess certain qualities in transition. So yeah, they're right now a very organized team, and we shouldn't expect anything less from Bruce.
All right. Thanks, Bradley. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.